Hello everyone, back tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. For today's video, that's going to take us to around the 21st of November, and we'll be able to extend out beyond that. We extended GFS and ECM ensembles, they run to around a couple of weeks. Have a look at CFSV2 at the end of the video for the next month. Starting off with a couple of wintry pictures that have been sent to us by someone on Facebook. So we'll start off with that very shortly. I just say it was a very busy weekend of updates at the weekend. So we released the 11th Winter 2019-2020 update yesterday morning. Seemed to go down quite well. And did a live stream about that update as well yesterday afternoon between 5 and 6 o'clock. Easily the biggest response that we've ever had to our live streams. So if you'd like to replay that, then you can do that from the Gaz Weathers YouTube channel, and video is embedded on the homepage at gazweathers.com as well. There's also a Christmas update yesterday, so really was a very, very busy day indeed. Right, so let's get on with the video then. We're going to start off, with a couple of pictures. It's been sent through by Stephen Evans, showing some snow on Saturday morning in Shropshire. So a proper wintry old morning up there in Shropshire yesterday, or I should say Saturday morning, proper wintry looking scene. So yeah, the snow was laying on the ground, at least for a while, up there in Shropshire on Saturday morning. So big thank you to Stephen for sending those through to us. If you'd like to have your pictures featured in the videos, there are various ways you can do that. You can share them with us on social media, on the Gaz Weathers Facebook and Twitter accounts. You can also post them in the comment box at gazweathers.com, and you can also email them to gazweathers@gmail.com, and we'll get the chance. We're always happy to feature your pictures in the video. So big thank you to Stephen Evans for sending those through, and a big thank you to all of you for sharing your pictures with us. Right, so central temperature is continuing to fall, and we're currently sitting at 7.1, which is an anomaly of nearly 1 degree below average now, 0.8 degrees below average. That's provisional up to yesterday, the 10th of November. So for the first 10 days of November, we are provisionally below average. There's normally a bit of a correction at the end of the month, so it could be that already we're around a degree or so below average. So a pretty chilly start to November, to say the least, following on from October, which also, of course, came in colder than average. These are the GFS 500 millibar high anomaly flow charts from the Penn State University for the next week to 10 days. We've got the ECMWF on the top, and the GFS, which we'll have in a moment, is on the bottom. So 500 millibars is an area in absolute high pressure, and low pressure are being moved around by the jet stream running above. Extrapolates the high pressure blue to low pressure. You can see that the ECM has this area of above average height sitting across eastern parts of Europe. So the warm ridge continues into the east of Europe and up to west of Russia, and then extends up into the Arctic as well, that ridge of high pressure, and pushes over towards Greenland and then down into the northern Atlantic. So lots of high pressure around, but we actually find ourselves very close to this trough of low pressure. It is a deep trough of low pressure up that big area of low pressure there, but he's starting to bring up some milder winds from the southwest. So despite all of the blocking that we've got there, the ECM does actually have a sort of milder type flow there as we get to day 10, but also very, very wet. That would bring more heavy rain to many parts of the country, would no doubt exacerbate the flooding issues. Now, this is the GFS, so this is based on the midnight run of the GFS. Now, we had a very cold midnight GFS run. I will show you that in a moment. It's not all that dissimilar from what the ECM is showing. It has this big area of below average heights to the west, to the southwest, but it's a little bit further south compared to where the ECM has it. The main difference is that it has high pressure, or it had high pressure just to our north. much more in way of northern blocking, and so this of course sends the jet stream southwards. We go onto the cold side of the jet with that, but also importantly we start to bring in pretty cold air from the east and from the northeast. We start to bring pretty cold air in from that sort of direction. And it was a genuinely cold and wintry midnight GFS run. It was a little bit of a cold outlier, not totally without support, but there weren't many GFS members doing what the midnight run of the GFS did. But it was a very, very wintry run. I will show you that in a moment. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles of the next couple of days on Exeter today, home of the UK Met Office, of course. This is it's another suggested location for this section of the video. If you'd like to have your local town or city featured in this section of the video, then please let us know where you would like to see it. We'll add you to the list. You can do it through the comments at GFS, or you can email us or ask us on social media. There are various ways of getting hold of us. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Exeter. And of course, we're cold average at the moment, and certainly for the next week up to around 19th of November, we're staying below average most definitely. Now, beyond that, we are possibly seeing signs of a little bit of a warming trend. So despite that cold midnight GFS run, as I say, we'll show it in a moment. Despite that, actually, as we go into towards the last week of November, this period just here, we are possibly seeing signs of a bit of an upwards lift in the upper air temperatures. Don't want to get you running away with the idea it's going to go very mild. Not much support of that. And this is, of course, all this extended range stuff as well. Within the reliable week to 10 day time frame, it's colder than average. But it's possible that we might start to see signs there, or we are starting to see signs there, something a little bit milder as we come towards the end of November. Unsettled too, so it's not going to be desperately unsettled in the next week, but there is bouts of rain to come, especially around the middle of the week and then again towards the weekend. And then next week could actually turn significantly wet. That does look very, very wet there as we go into the final week to 10 days of November. A little bit alarmingly so, actually, given the flooding that we've already had. I mean, that looks like a very, very wet last week of November. It's extended range again, so in the unreliable time frame, and in the reliable time frame, it's not completely dry. Even then, we have got precipitation spikes, particularly there. That's around Wednesday to Thursday, and then again, as I say, over the weekend. So not completely dry the next week, but after that we could really start to unleash the deluge once again for the final week, 10 days of the month. Bear in mind that's down in the southwestern part of the country, so it is exposed a little bit to the Atlantic. But I think it's a signal that at the very least we're staying unsettled, and perhaps getting even more so as we run into the last week or so of November. Temperature anomalies from the 11th to the 19th of November below average. It's going to be a colder than average week for the UK, for Ireland, for most parts of Western Europe as well. Temperatures continue to be below average. So I would imagine that by the end of the coming week, we'll probably be seeing temperatures around 1.5 degrees below average in terms of the CET. That's a significantly cold first half to November here. Precipitation anomalies looking like that. So bear in mind, this is based on the midnight GFS run again, these anomaly charts. And I will show that very shortly. The temperature, the precipitation anomaly for the 11th to 19th of November, bit of a mixed bag, so a bit drier than average for Northern Ireland and for parts of Scotland, also maybe for parts of South West England too. Looks wet than average though through this central sway of the country, exactly where we don't want it to be wet than average, because of course North Wales, Northern England, North Midlands, that's where we've had the flooding, and if that's right, there is more rain still to come, unfortunately. Right, so this is that midnight run of the GFS. So we're starting off on Thursday. Low pressure is diving southwards across the country on Thursday. That will bring another spell of wet weather. Could be some hill snow in with that as the low pressure sinks away into France and pulls the winds in to the east and northeast. Those east and northeast winds could bring wintry showers with them at the end of the week. Over the weekend, things dry out as we build a little bit of a ridge of high pressure over the country. It will be cold under that ridge though, so I think frost and maybe fog patches become more widespread at the weekend. into early next week, we then start to build up this ridge of high pressure to the north and northeast of us. Winds are still in from the east. And look then how this high pressure strengthens from Scandinavia over towards Iceland by the beginning of next week. This is Tuesday 19th. A big blocking area of high pressure strengthening then to our northeast, starting to pull in a proper easterly wind, and from that point onwards the midnight run of GFS just got colder and colder. So we get up to day 10 and we are well and truly in a proper blocking situation. High pressure at 1030 millibars is centred in the middle of the Norwegian Sea. The high pressure stretches from Scandinavia over to Greenland. Easterly winds coming across the country, and the air of course is originating from north of east. So follow the isobars back, follow the lines back, you can see that the air actually originates from kind of like northern Scandinavia and northwestern Russia, and is plunging down across northern and western parts of Europe in that sort of direction. That's genuinely going cold there as we get to day 10 on the midnight GFS run, and this then continued into extended range. Actually just gets colder with high pressure continuing to block things out up to the north. Low pressure is across sort of Italy and up into Germany, and this again is bringing in these cold east or northeasterly winds. There's the upper air temperatures shown. They are looking cold through all parts of the UK with -5 Celsius isotherm through the UK, -10 Celsius HPA air across Scandinavia. So this is a genuinely cold east northeasterly wind that we was in by Saturday the 23rd of November with the midnight GFS run. That would be cold enough to bring snow and also hard overnight frost. Despite the fact it's still November, that would be cold enough for genuinely wintry conditions. But it gets even more interesting later on because the Atlantic attempts to have a go at dislodging that cold air. It doesn't really come off, but could potentially bring a snow event. And we finished up there on Wednesday 27th of November, over 2 weeks away, but still looking cold. Winds are in from the north, and we've still got this northern blocking over Greenland and extending down into the North Atlantic. That's a very wintry midnight GFS run, and if it was to verify, then this would be the coldest November that we've had for a very, very long time, I would have thought. There's the upper air temperatures at day 10 still looking pretty cold. As I say, it was an outlier, not totally without support, but it was certainly on the cold side of the options. But very interesting midnight GFS run. I'll show you the latest GFS, this 6 o'clock run. So again, we're starting on Thursday. Low pressure sinking through the country on Thursday, bringing rain and potentially hill snow with it. That low gets down into France as we go into Friday, and we pull in this cold northeasterly wind that can bring wintry showers with it. Over weekend, high pressure building across the country. So we go drier over weekend, but it will be cold. There'll be significant overnight frost, maybe some freezing fog patches as well. And then early next week, we start to get this build of pressure across the country and beginning to move up towards Scandinavia. So the 6 o'clock GFS trending in the same direction, actually, as the midnight GFS run, taking the high pressure north, centering it kind of like in the Norwegian Sea. You'll notice there's another area of high pressure up here. That's genuine sort of Arctic blocking that is pulling up this high pressure from the UK, pulling it up northwards, and allowing these winds to swing round into the east. So moving up towards day 10, this is Wednesday 20th of November. Yes, we do actually look quite cold and wintry there. We've got low pressure in the North Sea. We're pulling in a northeasterly wind. That could be cold enough to deliver some snow across parts of the country perhaps. And then we get to day 10, which is Thursday the 21st of November, and we're still cold. Low pressure, though, is in situ around the country, so there's wintry potential with that, I would have thought, and still looking quite cold to say the least. Moving into extended range, then the 6 o'clock GFS run starts to turn things milder as it brings these areas of low pressure in from off the Atlantic, and the winds shift into the south. So and we saw within the Ensemble for Exeter earlier on in the video that there is a bit of a warming trend for this last week of November. So there we are on Monday 25th of November. We're pulling winds up from the south. Much milder air is enveloping the country, but of course it is turning much more unsettled again, with these areas of low pressure just bringing copious amounts of rain back in from off the Atlantic. So yes, last week of month on this GFS run goes milder, but it also goes very wet once again. That's how the GEM is looking. So low pressure again slinking through the country on Thursday, ends up over France. By Friday pulls in these cold east to northeasterly winds over the weekend. Actually, we keep things a little bit more unsettled over the weekend with the GEM, so that would suggest a chance of showers, maybe wintry showers, some parts of the country over the weekend. Where skies are clear, frost will be an issue. Moving into next week, so we have this area of low pressure developing to our south. It looks like that finishes up sort of clipping into the southeast. Winds are still in from the north or northeast, so quite cold. There may be a little bit of wintry potential in with that, with the GEM for the southeast corner. And then moving up to day 10, that's how we look. So still generally quite cold up to day 10. This is sort of like a slack type flow, but we have not introduced a particularly mild air from off the Atlantic up to this point. So yeah, I would think that up to that point it still looks genuinely quite cold. Low pressure is gathering in the Atlantic. Possibly if we was to roll on another day or two, we would find low pressure begin to break back in off the Atlantic, turning it wetter and also maybe a little bit milder as well. Moving on the ECMWF. So this is what the ECM is showing. Again, low pressure is sinking through the country on Thursday, taking rain and hill snow with it. That goes down into France on Friday, leaves us in a northeasterly wind, bringing in wintry showers. And then over the weekend, again, rather slack and quite cold, so an increasing risk of frost and fog over the weekend, I would have thought. The difference with the ECM is that early next week, we don't get that build of pressure and move it northwards like the GFS is showing. So we do get a little bit of a ridge here on Monday, but we don't build a proper area of high pressure and take it north with the ECM. Instead, what happens is just we roll low pressure back in off the Atlantic, and so it turns milder and wetter through the early part of next week. And then after that, we just unleash the Atlantic. Here it comes. We saw it on the 500 millibar height anomaly chart from the Penn State University. Ends up very, very unsettled at day 10 with the ECM, but also a lot milder as well. Bear in mind the GFS, both GFS runs, these midnight and 6 o'clock GFS runs are cold at this point at day 10, and the GEM is also quite cold as well at this point, but the ECM is a lot milder but also a lot wetter with these areas of low pressure out to our west, bringing bouts of heavy rain in across the country. In fact, let's just have a quick look at the precipitation, the rainfall forecast from that ECM run. This is at meteo.com. So starting off today, we're taking low pressure away to our east and bringing in winter showers to northern and western parts of the country. As we run through, we can see that tomorrow we're going to have more wintry showers in the north and in the west as well. Could be snow, possibly down to quite lowish levels overnight and early tomorrow morning across northern parts of Scotland. Otherwise, sleet and snow mainly restricted to higher ground. Then into Wednesday, low pressure is heading in from off the Atlantic. This is the diving low, of course, that we have Wednesday to Thursday. That's bringing heavy rain in across Wales and southwest England by the end of Wednesday, and also Northern Ireland. Could be some hill snow mixed in with that. And then overnight Wednesday into Thursday, it's just a little bit of snow coming through the Midlands. Not sure how reliable these snow forecasts are from the ECM model. This will be within the high-res time frame tomorrow, so we should know a little bit more, I think, tomorrow. But certainly there is a bit of a suggestion there of snow, possibly even down to lowish levels Wednesday night into Thursday across parts of the Midlands and Wales. And then that low sort of gets a bit stuck, actually, across the central part of the country through Thursday. That is exactly where we don't want the rain as well. It's very similar to what happened last week. I'm not sure if it's forecasting quite the intensity of rainfall that we had last week, but again you'll see it's affecting far northern parts of East Anglia, it's affecting Lincolnshire, it's affecting Yorkshire, it's coming down into the North Midlands, Derbyshire, Nottinghamshire, those sort of areas, I mean, down into the north and west of Wales. A little bit of wintriness is mixed in, but the main story of that will be another very slow-moving, massive rain over those areas that are already flooded. It looks worrying, it looks alarming for anyone who's in that area and has been affected by flooding. So all eyes on Thursday, perhaps. with that front getting stuck there. But all these diving lows, when low pressure decouples from Greenland and Iceland and heads southeast into France through the UK, they're always a bit of a worry because they're doing something a little bit different, and very often the weather fronts do get stuck with them. That's what we see there. So eventually, though, that wet weather goes, and we're left with this east-northeast wind, which could bring some wintry showers to eastern parts of the country at the end of the week. Suggestion of more general rain there affecting the east coast in towards next weekend. But generally, it's turning a little bit drier as we go through next weekend and into the early part of next week. But then in comes the next massive rain off the Atlantic by Tuesday. Wet weather is affecting many parts of the country. It just gets wetter and wetter actually as we run up towards day 10. Bouts of heavy rain moving in from off the Atlantic as that area of low pressure sits just to the southwest of the country. It would be mild, a lot milder, but it would also be pretty cold as well. These are the options on the table within the ECM ensembles for day 10. Today from the Icelandic Met Office. This gets us to the 21st of November. So we have 18 members of the ECM ensembles, including the operational and the control run. The operational run is the run we're just looking at, of course, that have the above average heights, yes, to the northeast, but actually we're dominated by low pressure to our west-southwest. So it's milder, winds are coming up from the south, but it's also very wet with those. We've got 14 that have the low pressure sort of to the southwest, a little bit stronger with a ridge of high pressure to the northeast. That could still be rather chilly, perhaps bringing in the wind more from an easterly direction. We have 10 that are genuinely a battleground UK scenario. They've got low pressure to our west-southwest. They've got this big ridge of high pressure over Scandinavia, and there will be fronts sort of stuck across the country, probably bringing in heavy outbreaks of rain. And then we've got 9 down here that just look really unsettled. No particular ridge over Scandinavia, just trough of low pressure over top of the country. They're going to be very, very unsettled. It does look as though by day 10, the ECM ensembles are favouring very wet conditions, I'm afraid. And then as we move up into 2 weeks away, these are the options that we've got. This gets us to 26th of November. So 22 members of the ECM ensembles, including the control run, has us back under that Scandinavian high. So the Scandinavian high never really goes away. And by the end of, coming to the end of November, actually has us back under that Scandinavian high and has the winds in from the east. That would be cold and potentially bring snow showers into eastern parts of the country. Then we have 20 members of the ECM ensembles, however, that are milder but also wetter, with low pressure still continuing to rattle in from off the Atlantic. And then we have 9 just here, but have got northern blocking. They've got high pressure towards Greenland and also Scandinavia, so all of this area dominated by northern blocking with low pressure to our south. They're going to be cold as well. They're sending the jet stream a long way southwards and potentially bringing in cold air from the north or northeast. So although by day 10 may be milder and wet, in 2 weeks time, coming towards the end of November, these ensembles are possibly telling us that we may start getting colder again as we move up towards the end of the month. Finally, the CFS V2. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period takes us from the 11th to the 17th of November. The coming week looks unsettled with low pressure through the north and west of Europe. High pressure is pulled away from us in the middle of the Atlantic. We're on the cold side of jet stream. It remains cold and unsettled in the week ahead. Week 2 is the 18th to 24th of November. Low pressure is still dominating and the jet stream is still sort of a line northwest to southeast. So that one also looks quite cold and unsettled. Week 3 has low pressure sitting just to our west. The difference is that we're beginning to turn the wind a little bit more west-southwest. It's 25th of November to 1st of December. Just turning wind a little bit more west-southwesterly, starting to bring in some slightly milder air from off the Atlantic there for month's end. And moving over through to week 4, which is the 2nd to the 8th of December, the first week of December looking much milder. Low pressure is out to our northwest. High pressure is both ridging to our south and east, and that drags up much milder winds from the southwest. That will be a very mild, possibly still quite unsettled, but certainly very mild start to December and start to winter 2019-2020. Temperature anomalies in the week ahead from the 11th, 17th of November. They're colder than average in the coming weeks, substantially so. And still colder than average into week 2 as well. Obviously, 18th, 24th of November, below average temperatures continue then. Week 3, though, is going milder. This is the 25th of November to the 1st of December. We end the month, well, it's a cold month overall, but we end it on a rather milder note. And then very mild by week 4. This is the 2nd to the 8th of December. The CFS has us very mild there. Temperature anomaly is like 2 degrees or more above average. A very, very mild start to next month indeed. Finally, precipitation the week ahead, the 11th, 17th of November, generally above average with rainfall. Week 2, 18th, 24th of November, that one is also above average with the precipitation. Week 3 is above average as well. This is 25th of November to 1st December, that's wetter than average too. And then week 4, well, it's a weakening signal, but it still hints even then, I think, of being a little bit wetter than average, particularly for northern and western parts of the country. Very worrying for anybody affected by flooding or anybody who could be affected by flooding. Looks like the deluge goes on. So it's a mixed bag with the model output at the moment. I think what we're going to focus on is what's happening next week. Do we get that colder air coming in from the northeast through the early part of next week? The GFS says yes, the ECM says no. If we get that cold air coming in from the northeast, of course, that will dry things out, but any precipitation that falls could be wintry next week. Otherwise, on the ECM solution, it turns milder next week, but it also turns a lot wetter as well. And the overall trend, obviously, for the rest of November and even inside of December, seemingly, is to continue to be very unsettled. So the river levels are just going to carry on rising, I think, over the next few days and weeks. Of course, we've got to focus on what's happening on Thursday as well through that central part of the country. The suggestion is there that the front gets stuck again. Lincolnshire, Yorkshire, North Midlands, Nottinghamshire, Derbyshire, into North Wales, all of those areas that were flooded last week. You may unfortunately do it all over again this week. So concerning times for what's happening on Thursday. And then beyond that, do we start to pull in those cold winds from the northeast next week? A lot to keep an eye on. We'll be keeping you updated with all of the developments at Gazzo's over coming days. So do keep checking back to the updates. But that's all for now. And thanks for watching.